Hello everyone, this is Marcel, welcome to my channel. So a while back I made a video commenting on the disposability of men in movies, which inspired a lot of video requests from viewers saying, hey, do more movie reviews. Do that sort of thing, we don't get enough of it. Aside from the occasional recommendation, I don't generally do anything on a specific video, so I figured this is an opportunity for me to grow my channel a little bit in that direction where I can give the occasional dedicated video to a specific movie from something of a MGTOW perspective. That is, I won't be only reviewing movies that are explicitly MGTOW, but rather any movie that seems interesting from my perspective, and give a review on it. I won't let it detract from my normal content, just something to add to it. Sort of like how Sandman does his travel videos, I think I might start trying to do these movie reviews. So without further ado, I give you Annihilation 2018, written and directed by Alex Garland, based on a novel by Jeff Vandermeer. So why do I find this movie interesting? Well, firstly, it is by far about the creepiest movie I have ever seen. It is twisted, dark, and quite literally gut-wrenching, but in a very scientific and a sophisticated way. Though it doesn't shy away from the special effects when needed, its focus is almost more on the characters' interpretation of what they're seeing as opposed to showing what they're seeing to the audience. This movie stands out because it doesn't pander to those watching and break down and explain every little detail in such a way that there's no chance that a 5-year-old wouldn't understand what's going on. It'll actually make you think. At any point, there's someone in the audience saying, wait, I don't know what that is. What's going on? So in a sense, it's not afraid to be its own movie and not break itself down to the lowest denominator, which is something that videos nowadays desperately need. Furthermore, something interesting about this movie is that it was cast almost entirely of women, but you don't hear about it. Nobody's presenting its, feminist concepts that finally a movie that portrays almost entirely or basically only women. Now there's a couple of reasons why that could be. It might have just been the soliciting behind it, nobody pushed it as that. Or from that perspective, it may be that there wasn't enough queef jokes to be considered a feminist movie. It could be as simple as that the movie doesn't self-proclaim, even from the characters within it, that it is only about the fact that they're women. It doesn't really come up. But some things I did notice is that it doesn't pretend that its characters within it are something that they're not. Women within the movie are shown being vulnerable, being emotional, acting like or closer to what a real woman would act like in that scenario. They break down, and in some cases rather quickly. They're shown making genuine mistakes. Things like adultery, cheating, and lies are played into the plot within the movie and have genuine consequences, which is something that you don't see presented in, a movie that has the feminist seal of approval that is expected to be where women are like infallible gods that can roam around and do whatever they want and treat the men in their life like shit with absolutely no consequences. Let's just say that for its female cast, there's no detraction from the quality of a movie. It wouldn't have been made any better by having men in the place. And I wouldn't say that about just any movie. I'm perfectly fine with having women cast in almost any role as long as they're portrayed as women. There's nothing entertaining about having 6 or 7 Wonder Womans all playing in the same movie at the same time, if you kind of get where I'm going with that. So this is the point in my review where if you're genuinely interested in what I've said so far, you should probably stop here and go watch the movie, because I'm getting into spoilers, okay? Spoiler warning. In 3, 2, 1. You were warned. So it starts out with your main character here. You got Natalie Portman, basically getting interrogated. She recalls the events occurring as flashbacks where we see scenes from the events as they took place. Essentially, there was a meteor strike that caused a scientific anomaly known as the Shimmer that was spreading across a beach in Florida and the swamps that surround it. Everyone and everything that's been sent into this shimmer disappears and never returns, with the exception of the main character's husband who comes out in a very disoriented state and was originally presumed dead. This is what essentially draws her into the plot, as his medical situation is pretty grim. Mass organ failure and lack of memory, things like that. The guy is all screwed up. So she and a group of other women wind up having to get clustered together and sent into the Shimmer to figure out what happened. Well, why are they sending them? Why are they sending these scientists and basically female therapists into this Shimmer as opposed to sending more soldiers? Well, it's because they've already died. They've sent everyone else they could in, or they suspect that they've died. They sent everybody else in, and they're basically all that's left, and the Shimmer is growing at a rate where they're about to lose their facility anyway, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. So this is kind of a last hurrah, jumping out and trying to figure out the truth of what's going on. Well, once they finally enter the Shimmer, everything goes to shit. They start noticing and even getting attacked by what are essentially mutated creatures that shouldn't exist in reality, coupled with glitches in their memory along the lines of not even remembering how they got to somewhere or forgetting what time of day it was, where they're at. Disoriented and scared, their emotions start taking over their actions. They start behaving like what you'd expect in that sort of situation. A big emphasis of this movie is self-destruction, and you'll hear a lot of other reviewers say almost the same thing. You know, cancer is brought up a lot in it. One of the characters is diagnosed with cancer, which ultimately is one of her reasons for entering the Shimmer and essentially going on a suicide mission. She had nothing to lose. And the same could be said of a lot of the other characters, at least from different perspectives. What I found interesting is that to a degree, the presence that exists in that area is almost giving the characters what they're asking for in sort of a distorted way. If you've ever seen the movie The Sphere, it almost has a hint of that flavor to it. Because there's scenarios where one of the women breaks down emotionally and she just basically gives up and sees these beautiful plants that are showing oncogenes, assuming that I pronounced that correctly. Well, she starts thinking, that looks like a comfortable existence, and in a sense basically starts turning into a plant based on that mindset that she had in that current state. Basically, she mutated, but it was almost a mutation on will, which shows me that there is a connection between the psychology of the person that's involved and the interaction with the environment. That's further shown by one of the monsters that attacks them starts exhibiting behaviors of those who it attacked. So there's a clear connection between psychology or mindset and the environment. Everything starts getting blurred together. It becomes a living nightmare. I don't know if any of you can remember a lot of your dreams, but have you ever think when you're dreaming about something and you realize something within the dream and it starts to become true as you're thinking about it because you're the one that's facilitating the dream? It's almost like that. Point is, every one of those characters went into the Shimmer for a specific reason. And for the most part, they all, from what I can tell, got that reason realized through the Shimmer. It gave them what they asked for. A lot of their experiences within it tie back to previous events that occurred. Take, for example, the main character. Her husband caught her committing adultery, which was ultimately his reason for entering the Shimmer in the first place, from what the movie implies. So she self-destructed her relationship. It mutated into something twisted and wrong because of her choices. Then she enters the Shimmer to kind of make amends for him, but ultimately makes everything twisted and wrong by what she's doing in that case. Everything that occurred in their lives is sort of dissected and twisted and laid out for them to see until it finally starts to fragment and fall apart bit by bit. And the movie does all of this in exquisite, agonizing detail. Furthermore, there's almost a sense of deathlessness, that you can't really die once you're in the Shimmer. And I think that would probably be the most terrifying concept of all. Because once a character dies off, they're represented, they're exhibited in other things. They're still kept in the mesh and dragged on through other creatures, through other things. They keep on living in different ways. In some components, though, it's all remarkably beautiful. The mutations, the portrayal of death that sort of continues and evolves into different things. It's all done very beautifully. Not to sound emotional here or anything, but you find yourself sitting back thinking, wow, that's really beautiful. It's a shame that it's a dead body. Or a cancer-ridden flower. It's confusing. They did a really good job blending everything together, which is really sort of the point. Anyway, to sort of wrap up this review, you will leave this movie without a lot of answers. It has two endings, which you'll understand if you do see it. The first ending would be what I expected from it. And then after that, there's sort of a spin-off on what must have been kind of a Hollywood ending that they added to it because every movie has to have that little teaser at the end of it. Yeah. They could have done so much better without that, but they just have to add it. It throws a huge dilemma in the plot that they're going to have to tie up and they don't know it yet. I don't want to spoil too much for you if you're actually interested in it, but what about all the animals? You'll get it when you see it. Something happens, but then what about all the animals? It could have done without the Hollywood teaser at the end. In fact, if any of you have ever seen The Ninth Gate, kind of an older 1999 video produced by Roman Polanski, you watch that whole video and it's a guy striving to find out the secrets and mysteries of a book, and then at the end of it he's about to figure out what happened and he just walks off screen and you never find out what actually happened. It leaves you completely unaware of what his experience was. But if it's a decent movie, but if the director had put in sort of a scene that explained it, it would have screwed it all up. The mystery at the end is what made the movie, but if you were paying attention through any of it, then you already knew what was going to happen, and that was enough. Annihilation could have used an ending that went along with the confusion that it was setting up for, but rather than go along with that, they gave it an ending that would have drawn people in this era, in this time frame. It gave a flashy, good tie-up, and they didn't need to do that. Then, of course, they put the teaser on the end of it that probably should have come after the credits, if anything. So I will give this movie like a 7 out of 10. And why I say that is being 5 would be average. The average movie. Less than that is worse, more than that is better. This is a better than average movie. I don't mind that it has a full cast of women because it's much closer to portraying them as real women, not as gods running around with vaginas. So it's definitely a step in the right direction if we're wanting to get away from nonsense like Ghostbusters 2016. I also like that there's genuine consequences for the female characters doing fucked up things. Now that's not to say that I like to see anyone suffering, but it's more realistic. And that's probably the genuine reason why none of the feminists are portraying it as a gold star approved movie, because it doesn't fit along with their narrative. But granted, this is not about them, this is about the movie. If you're interested in any of it so far, I'd recommend you see it. It's worth it. There's not a lot of hype going on about it right now. It's not as big as it should be. It's kind of underappreciated. So let me know what you think down below. If you agree, disagree, I want to hear it. Do you want more videos like this from me? I love movies and I love talking about them, so I'd certainly be willing to. In the meantime, like, share, subscribe. Until next time, this has been Marcel.
Can you describe its form?
No.
Start from the beginning.
What do you think I do when you're away? You think I'm out in the garden pining, looking up at the sky? Why aren't you here?
I gotta leave a day early.
Your husband's here.
Let me see him.
He's extremely ill.
You have to tell me where he was, what he was doing.
It was his decision to go in. It's something they termed the shimmer. We've sent in drones and teams of people, but nothing comes back.
But something has.
You're a biologist. You served in the military.
If I knew what happened, I could save his life.
The boundary's getting bigger, it's expanding. We're talking cities, states.
You need to know what's inside. So do I. It's beautiful. Check this out. It's like they're stuck in a continuous mutation.
Anything interesting in there?
No. Sharks have teeth like that. It's not possible. You can't crossbreed different species. What is it?
The soldiers on the last expedition.
They went crazy. Or something in here killed them. Something's come through the fence. Through the fence? We have to go back. I can't go back.
We can camp here tonight. It's destroying everything.
It's not destroying. It's making something new.